We're joined by Dr. Shawn Wilson, the Department of Transportation and Development Secretary. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for not saying Department of Transportation and delay.
I don't know who you're talking about.
We might get to that later.
That darn Matt. I don't know. You just can't trust him. He's a loose cannon, sir. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, Shawn, we wanted to get a quick update on some local projects, and then I know you want to talk about the transportation funding issue.
Okay.
Let's talk Jimmy Davis Bridge. It's in really sad shape. I don't know if they've driven you across it lately, but are we definitely going to?
Absolutely.
Are we going to get a new bridge? And what are we going to do about the conditions of the existing bridge?
Well, very simply, the existing bridge, we were going to spend $20 to $30 million repairing a bridge that you would still have 2 lanes and be congested. And that did not make sense to us. We feel like we know we need to add new lanes. We know it will work better with a new structure. And we know we didn't want to put people in total congestion and disarray for a year while we maintain a bridge that won't be any better for an experience in terms of congestion once we finished it. So we have redirected efforts to build 4 lanes of structure across there, and we will work to preserve the existing bridge as a pedestrian bicycle bridge to connect the 2 parks on both sides of the river. It's the best transportation solution, as opposed to spending money and not giving you value for it.
I-49 north of town and then the inner city connector. Where are we? Have we made a decision on that? Our town's been waiting for years for this.
I-49, I will tell you, we are well underway on the construction for the existing part from 220 north. That project has 2 pieces under construction right now. One is about 55% complete with about 26% of the time elapsed. We have another section, the K1 segment, is a little bit more challenged because of the floods and the disasters that we had. It's about 85% complete, but 108% of the time has elapsed. And given the construction process, we are well on our way. We think we will be able to complete one section by the fall of 2017. And then the last section by the spring of 2018, and that will be finished. In regards to the inner city portion, decisions are still being made at the local level about what is the best solution. And once that solution has been determined and a record of decision is received and we go through the environmental stage, it will proceed in the same path of every other construction project of going through acquisition, design, and eventual.
In that regard, are you willing to defer to what local leaders want to do, what people locally want to do?
Well, with any time we build an interstate or a big project, we have to go through a process that we involve ourselves with the local. And because this is an inner city section of road, it would not be wise for me or anyone at the state level to ignore the opinions of the locals. It is a relationship that we have to develop, and we have to work with the MPO there. We have to work with the local government there and lots of the stakeholders. And if you remember, many, many years ago, what stopped it from going through that section was a relationship that we had that the community was not willing to accept and did not want that. And that's where the leadership was. And so that's what we did. Now that we have gone where we have, there have been a groundswell of support to complete the inner city section. There was money put in an environmental process that we're in, and we're going through that process.
Let's talk the tax, the gas tax, and we've talked about this before. You say you need $700 million. If you get $300 million, are you happy?
Well, I heard you all earlier. I was listening in, and if I told you that 700 or bust, then I would not be a smart secretary. And so if I misspoke, that was never my intent. What I was wanting to tell you was the needs actually are $700 million, that we have to have that. What I don't want to do is see us do a $50 or $100 million one-time infusion and say, hey, we fixed it. $300 million would be wonderful for us to go forward. $500 million would be even better. I'm interested in managing expectations to say I will give you what I can give you, but unlike what we've done in the past, and not just Louisiana but other states, we make big promises. We lower the income, and we expect to deliver the same level of service, and that's just not going to be practical. So what the task force did was we said $700 million is the figure. Gas tax is one way to get there, but we also said things like public-private partnerships, things like tolling, things like indexing to the Wright index, because you talked about electric vehicles, and as more and more vehicles become electric and don't use fuel, that's less money we're going to be getting. We've talked about right-sizing permits. I've got commercial vehicles that are paying $10 or $15 for a permit versus others who are paying $150 or $500 or $1,000 for a permit. We want to right-size that system so that we can generate a fair and balanced revenue stream to impact bridges in our system. And so there are a number of ways to get to $700 million. We aren't saying that a gas tax is the right way. We aren't saying that the doubling of the gas tax is the only way. In fact, when you say we got a 20-cent gas tax, we really have a 7.5 cents gas tax because of inflation. 5 cents of that 16 cents was spent on 14 projects and is going to be obligated until 2050. So I do not have that full 20 cents. That
is that $700 million in your mind? Is that carved in stone? Is anything less than that? Is just? Do you feel that just won't get the job done?
No. It won't get the job done to the maximum. And so with every policy purposed agency like we are, we give recommendations to the governor and the legislature, and they are the ones who make decisions on how much we get, where it goes, and that has to be done in context of the overall state budget. We cannot ignore the fact that we have a structural budget issue in this state and that the citizens bear the burden, and so we have to balance that. We have to give them something for their money. We also have to realize that if the legislature, in their wisdom, decide to pass $100 million and go home and say, hey, we fixed the transportation problem, that is in fact not the case, and that's going to reinforce the perception that we can't give you or that we're being dishonest with money when, in fact, you've given me an amount of money that was inconsistent with the need and didn't tell folks the whole story about what we could actually do. If you do the 5 cents that Erin mentioned, that's $150 million a year. That's what we would get with a 5 cents gas tax. I can name one bridge, and it's a new bridge in Baton Rouge, that's going to cost me over $1 billion. The Barksdale interchange is going to cost over $80 million. So if you give me that 5 cents, $80 million of that 5 cents will have to go on that one project if that is the one thing we do. So
don't you get federal dollars too, though? Don't you have federal dollars that come into play as well?
Well, Erin, we do, but I will tell you, we're spending every federal dollar we get today. We won't get any more money unless the Congress passes a gas tax or finds a way to fund transportation, and I don't see that happening in the near future. And so when you talk about the federal dollars, that's included in our budget. That's included in what we spend, and so it's obligated today, 100%. We actually get more money back because we spend all of our federal money. And in the future, in 2018, if we don't have an increase in our funding in some kind, there's a very good chance I won't be able to compete for funds, because in order for me to go get new money from the feds, I have to have a match. It might be 10 cents for every 90 cents I get. It might be 20 cents. It might be 40 cents. And so if I don't have the money to match federal funds, I can't draw those funds down.
You are a highway kingpin. That's
better than P. Diddy.
Thanks. But you also...
Not when it comes to take-home pay, it's not.
But you also have to have a concern as a leader and a lover of our state that there's going to come a time when you're going to make me go live in Alaska in a hut. And you're going to run people out of our state, and run people out of our state. Do you have that as part of this equation at all?
Well, what I will tell you is for infrastructure, the only funding we get comes from the gas tax and the federal funds. And so we are going to be sensitive. I want to be sensitive. I do not anticipate annual investment of 23 additional cents is going to be something that anybody wants to do. But I also want to be honest with people and say, hey, 5 cents may not get you what you need to feel whole or to be complete. And so what's that middle ground? Does it have to just come from gas taxes? Absolutely not. Are there other sources? Absolutely. But the reality is in Louisiana, given our structural budget issues, I don't want to have a great infrastructure system if we have to close universities and hospitals that you won't need to get on the road to get to. I believe that this is a job creator, and how we can do that is building the right projects in the right way, in a smart way, and managing them better.
Dr. Shawn Wilson, sorry we didn't even get to Urien Kings. Looks like it's on track, right?
Urien King is on track. It is moving pretty well. We've got one leg of the intersection itself is done. Now we're doing approaches. One of the 4 approaches is done. It's actually 55% complete, and about 26% of the time is done. It's an $8 million project. It's going to be a good solution for traffic.